Today's project is another one of our 4 ways collaboration videos. This month it was my turn to pick a project, and I picked a twig pot. Now, a twig pot doesn't have to be made of a twig, doesn't have to have bark on it, doesn't even have to look rustic. What defines the project is the function and the constraint, not the material. This is a great easy beginner project. At the end of this of my video, I'll have a slideshow, so be sure to stay tuned for that. You can use any kind of scrap you want, cut off firewood, a twig. In my case, I'm using a piece of red oak that was a sticker, must have been a part of a pallet or something. It's 2 1/4 by 3 inches by 4 1/2 inches long, or 57 millimeter by 75 millimeter by 114 millimeter. And otherwise, it's a rectangle. It's going to stay a rectangle because I'm going to turn this multi-axis. So I'm drawing a line down the middle, and then I'm crossing it at about the 1/3 mark. This is again 3 inches in long way, and I do that on both sides. And now I'm going to mount it using a stem center. I'm going to use my awl, or center punch rather. Mark it on each side. I may have to shift this if I didn't get it parallel. So let's put that right there. And now let's see if we get this thing turned roughly square. It's just a tiny little bit. Let's see if that looks a little more square. Okay, I think I've got it. A twig pot is simply a small vessel designed to hold dried twigs, weeds, grasses, or even decorative stems. It can be rustic, elegant, minimalist, traditional, or completely contemporary. The characteristics are it's generally a fairly small form with a small footprint, and it tends to have a small drilled hole in it rather than hollowed out through traditional methods. I contrast this with a bud vase that generally is designed to hold water in a recently cut flower. I'll be glad when the warm weather gets back, so I can get back into my warm weather uniform. But until then, continue on. Okay, so that's the shape I'm planning on turning today, and we're going to turn it in this orientation. Unlike this one where I used a screw chuck or woodworm screw to do the off axis, I'm going to just turn a tenon and use that. So there's where we're going. Okay, so it'll clear, turn on the lathe, build up a little speed. I'm going to use a 1/2 inch spindle gouge, and I'm just going to nip the corners a little bit. I want to get the speed up a little bit since it's off axis. Pretty heavy lathe, so it'll handle a vibration without any problem. Alright, let's see what it looks like now. I've still got to nip these corners before I can start putting the tenon on it, so I've got to go a little bit further. Okay, I've nipped this corner, so I've got it off just a little bit here. This one, so I need to move this one a little bit closer. Okay. I'm going to just back this off just a little bit and move it out just a little bit. Same corner, smooth out that little bit, bring it around. Okay, I think that'll just about do it. So I'm going to use my beating and parting tool because it's strong, 8 millimeter, and I'm going to use that to make the tenon. I want that tenon to be at least 40 millimeter. So I've got a little ways to go. And I'm going to drop the handle, take a peeling cut.
Okay, I'm getting a little bit of tear out here. That's what I was afraid of. Let's go back one more time with that spindle gouge and see if I can't clean that up. That's not likely to happen. So I'll worry about that later. I can cut that off actually with the. I'm going to do that now. I'm going to cut this this fraying off the edge with a pocket knife, and I think that'll pretty well handle it. I'm going to bring this down just a little bit more. I want it close to optimum size for the chuck, so it won't leave any marks on it. And we got to come down just a little bit more. I think I'll do this right there. Now let's see if I can clean this up one more time. Watch that shadow line. Not biting into enough wood easily, but all right. I think that's gonna. I can clean that mark up a little bit, probably. Let's see if I can't do that with a little bit of a scraping cut here. Get rid of that tool mark. And that cleaned it up very, very nicely. Okay, now I'm going to put this in the chuck, and we'll start doing the shaping of the neck and drilling the hole. All right, we're going to take it away from between centers. Put on the chuck. Now let's just tighten this down. I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of shaping on the neck to reduce the weight and therefore the vibration before we worry about drilling. And let's see, I want to mark where the base of this is going to be. I like the proportions of this, so the blank is cut the same size, so we're going to be cutting this thing down to somewhere close to that. Again, back to the 1/2 inch spindle gouge with about a 40 degree grind. Some folks might prefer to use a bowl gouge. Get the speed up a little bit. I'm going to switch to a 1/2 inch bowl gouge just because it's got a little more meat to it, and see if I feel like I'm doing better with this. That's taking a bit of vibration out of it. I've got a long way to go. The throat, or the neck, I guess I could say, is going to be about a little over an inch. So we can kind of mark that here. Give us some idea. No bigger than that. Now let's see. The base is coming down about right. Yeah, I don't think I really want to change that. I just want to keep coming in. So ride the bevel. Just ease it in. Lift the handle till it cuts. bit more. Okay, that's looking good. Okay, I think I'm ready to drill, so I'm going to use a 7/16 inch drill bit. I've used smaller drill bits in the past, but sometimes the size of hole does not accommodate the dried flower, so I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. So I'm going to put the drill bit into my my chuck. I made a mistake one time of calling this a Jacob's chuck, and one of my viewers pointed out that a Jacob's chuck requires a key. This is a keyless chuck, so it's called an Albrecht chuck. So rather than try to keep up with that, I'm just going to call it a drill chuck. All right, and we're going to go down there fairly deep, about 3.5 inches, which is pretty much the length of the drill bit. So I'm going to clear this a little bit and go slow. I'm going to take the speed down to no more than about 600. Here we go. I'm going to slowly let it feed and let it find itself, find the center before I start twisting the hand wheel. All right, here we go. This is dry wood, so it clears fairly easily, but I don't want to let the chips build up too much, or I could embed this drill bit in there. Now I'm going to go in there and just push it in there a little bit. Grab a bit. One more time. Check it out. My calipers, see. I got as deep as I was before. Now I'm going another, almost another half inch. There we go. Okay. Remove the drill chuck. Cones, 60-degree cone center again. And it'll fit nicely into that hole to keep it centered and keep it firm. Actually, before I do anything else, I want to shape the inside of this. Probably wouldn't have been a bad idea to do it before I drilled to reduce the chances of that drill bit wandering. But I want to kind of slope this in a little bit. So I'm going to use a detail gouge, and I'm going to not pick it up from the outer edge, but from a little bit more than halfway, because the outside, actually, I think might do that first. Okay, I'm just going to nip the corner here a little bit. So have it flow around. Get the speed back up again, and here we go. And that's about the shape I'm looking for. Now I can rearrange the tool rest and come in a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to pick up that cut about halfway down the curve, right about there, and just slope it in. Brace it with my little finger. And just bring it around. And that's got it. Okay, it's got a nice profile to it. And maybe I'll just clean up this edge a little bit by the slide. Pull cut. Whoa! I got the wing engaged in there. I shouldn't have opened it up so much. Just got that top wing engaged. Okay. No problem. All right. Bring it back. Make sure it clears. Whoop, not going to clear. Okay. Bring that back. Still got a couple of fringes that might unfray a little bit here. Let me slice those off. And I made the mistake of really marking on this with a felt tip pen, so I'm going to have to sand that side down, and I could do something with this side. I think I'll just take it down a little bit further with the gouge to clean that off. The body's a little bit taller than I wanted. All right, so I'm gonna go back to that 1/2 inch bowl gouge and just pick up that cut. Oh, trying to decide whether, well, I've got to drop it down here a little bit. I think I do. I'm looking at the shadow line out here. Let's see if I came back. I don't think I came back far enough. Nope, I gotta come back just a little bit more. Got to keep the feed rate very slow, and I won't worry about it a little bit. That looks pretty close. Okay, now I can start working on the shape. So now I'll bring back the tailstock support. Now I've got to be careful not to make the throat of the neck too thin, or I'll make the inside bigger than the outside. So I think I'm going to switch back to that spindle gouge now for this operation, and I'm going to start with bringing the neck down from the outside. Nice clean cut. Now, this is going to basically be a cove cut, so I'm going to come in from the other side. I'm hanging over the tool rest a little ways, and I'm thinking that I'd be better off with a smaller tool rest to get in closer. So let's take this one off. Get my little small 4-inch robust. So now I can get in there a lot tighter with more support. Just too much overhang to be safely turning that with a 1/2 inch spindle gouge. Whoop. Want this a little steeper. Clean this up, but I want to put a little bit of a feature down here at the bottom, so I want it to be a little bit wider than this, so it's about where it ought to be. I think I need to tuck it in right here. Let me see if I can get that tool rest just a little closer. Yep. And let me go back to trimming these. I want to keep these trimmed. I don't want them flopping because they may wind up just centrifugal force swinging them out, making them worse. There we go. Okay. I'm going to switch to a 3/8 inch detail gouge so I can get right in there and make a nice little groove there. Drop the handle and just arc it in. Now come in from the other side and arc it in. Okay. And now I want to round this over a little bit. Make it a little more rounded. Gotta watch my left hand, make sure I don't get it into that turning vase. And then I think I can bring this in, just round this over a little bit more. And then bring this down. Now I've got to decide what that feature is going to look like, and I think it's just about where I want it to be. I'm just going to tighten up this cut a little bit. And this is a little pointy tool, a detail tool, so let me switch back to the 1/2 inch just to get the get rid of the tool marks here, smooth this cut up a little bit. And I want to take that down just a little bit more, so let me measure it and see how much wall thickness I've got. 0.69, and the size is less than 1/2, so I got 0.2. See what that looks like. So I've got that much extra, so I can take it down another millimeter or so, which I think will add to the shape a little bit. I want to take this down just a little bit. All right, now I need to meet it. Using this almost like a skew at an angle to just kind of slice. Okay, and I've got a little bit of a tool mark there in the corner. I wonder if I can get that rounded okay. Alright, I think I'm going to go ahead and take care of that with a little sanding. Okay, now to try to make up for my mistake of marking on this with a felt tip pen, I tried to remove it with a little alcohol, but that was faint. I knew that was not a likely solution. So I've got some 100 grit, and I'll just give it a little bit of elbow grease. I don't think it, because it's so coarse, I doubt if it went in too deep. And this side will just maybe be smoother than the other side. Okay, I've got just a little bit of a tool mark right here, and I'm going to clean that up with some 100 grit, that transition between those two. And then I think most of this, I think I can probably give it 220. I got nice clean cuts. And then I can do this with a lathe on. The main thing here is don't sand over those crisp details. You want them to really pop. I'm gonna make a little cone with this sandpaper like this to get in here, that hole, that little bit of a transition area. Again, I want a sharp, crisp edge there, so I just want to touch this up here, touch this up here. And I think because of the elbow grease required for this, I'm going to go ahead and just hit it with a belt sander on all four sides, get rid of that coarseness, so to give it a more uniform look, even though that's not what I started out planning on. Okay, I've sanded the sides down a little bit. It's not perfectly smooth, not as smooth as the rest of it, but I got rid of the letters I marked on it. First thing I want to do is I've got to get all the dust off of here, so I'm going to use some mineral paint thinner and just rub this down to get rid of any dust, because I'm going to use a little patinating wax with some mica powder in it, some white wax. And I've got to get the dust out of the pores for it to really get in there. I don't think I'm going to do the sides, just the neck. But let's wipe the whole thing down. And then I'll probably put some type of oil finish on the outside when I finish. Okay, so I've got that cleaned up, and I'm going to go to another one. So I'm using some Hampshire sheen with some mica powder in it that a friend of mine had left me. So let's just get a little bit of that. We're just going to rub it in. Woods like oak that are ring porous will show up real well with that wax. It's hard to even see it on here. You know, I'm going to switch gears here and just see what regular white patinating wax will look like. 'Cause this doesn't look like it's showing up much. I think the white might show up a little better. So I've got a can of liming wax, brie wax. Got white titanium in it. This is a lot whiter, so I think it's going to show up a little bit better. Oh yeah, I'll have better luck with this. It won't have the mica powder in it, but I think it'll get in the grain better and have more contrast. You rub it in real good, and then you let it dry for a little bit before you rub it out. You want the wax to dry a little bit. Alright, I'm going to let this dry for a few minutes before I try to polish it out by hand. So I thought I'd make a quick flower. This is a piece of sweet gum. I've already rounded it off, got an inch up, faced it off, and now I'm going to take a skew and I'm going to just come in and take really shallow cuts, just pulling it back. This works a lot better if you got fresh green wood. This is real dry, but it'll still work. And as I get to the middle, I just kind of round over. And now I come back behind it and get ready to part it off. Take your flower, mark your little centering hole with your bird cage awl. Come in there with appropriate size drill bit. Use a bamboo skewer. Some people use twigs, but I find the bamboo skewer is the fastest and easiest way to handle this. Put a couple of drops of CA glue in there. Force it in the hole. And there you go. Trick my mother-in-law taught me is when you give your wife flowers, before she throws them out, take some of the greenery, hang it up to dry for a month, and then spray it with some hairspray, and then you've got some little extra color variation that you can put with it. I decided not to use oil because I was afraid I was going to wipe up and clean out the wax, so I just used a little cellulose sanding sealer from Mylands just to seal the outside, and there we go. You can make other kinds of flowers, but you can dry flowers, dried twigs, dried weeds, but just thought you'd be interested in seeing how you can make a quick flower. Green wood works the best for these flowers, and you can always color them with a felt tip pen. No more than 200 RPM. Do that when it's on the lathe, preferably. Now for that slideshow, here's the finished product for this video. And here's some more videos. Here's what happens if it cracks if you use green wood sometimes. Here's one that's got hollowed out. Here's one Joe Sanja iridescent paints, one with a little bark left on it. And here's a large one and a small one that are kind of hollowed out. And here's a bunch of rustic looking ones. And some more refined ones. And here's a multi-axis version, and some with off-axis similar to the one I turned today. And here's a cute one. And here's a little different version.
Now let's see how the other members of the team came up with their project. Richard Raffin, Thomas Law, Thomas Etch, and Sam Angelo. Same challenge, same constraints. 4 different philosophies, 4 different results. And that's what makes these 4 ways video collaboration videos so special. Your questions and feedback matter, so please leave them in the comments below, and remember, y'all stay safe and come on back, you hear?